Welcome to another podcast in which we'll be talking about James Mahu's essay, Integral Knowledge. Sophia and Phil greet you from the microphone.
Hello to everyone.
Knowledge. We think we understand it, but what if the very nature of knowing goes far deeper than our brains can comprehend, Phil? Today we're exploring a radical perspective that challenges everything we think we know about knowledge itself.
That's fascinating you bring this up, Sophia, because I recently encountered this profound concept called integral knowledge that completely transforms how we think about understanding. It suggests there's an innate wisdom that exists in everything, not just humans.
You know what's wild about this idea? It proposes that even trees and plants possess this fundamental understanding through their DNA. They somehow grasp that their physical form is just a creative expression of something infinite.
Exactly, and this knowledge isn't something you can learn in a classroom or download from the internet. It's woven into the very fabric of existence.
That reminds me of those moments in nature when everything suddenly feels connected. Like when you're standing in a forest and there's this inexplicable sense of unity. Is that what we're talking about here?
That's precisely the kind of experience that points toward integral knowledge. It's described as the only form of knowledge we share without needing words or thoughts.
But here's what I find most fascinating. If this knowledge is so fundamental, why does it feel so elusive? Why isn't it just obvious to everyone all the time?
Well, think of it like trying to see your own eyes without a mirror. It's always there, but we can't directly experience it. We can only become aware of it.
That's such an interesting analogy. So you're saying there are actually three distinct types of knowledge: personal knowledge from our individual experiences, this integral knowledge we're discussing, and shared knowledge from our collective interactions?
Exactly right. And what's particularly fascinating is how modern technology is influencing the evolution of these different types of knowledge, especially accelerating our experience of shared knowledge.
You know what this makes me think about? All those ancient wisdom traditions that talked about a deeper kind of knowing. Maybe they were pointing to this same concept, just using different language.
That's a brilliant connection. It suggests this understanding has been recognized across cultures and throughout history, even if it's been described in different ways.
But here's the real question. How do we actually work with this knowledge in our daily lives? It's one thing to understand it conceptually, but how do we actually embody it?
The key is allowing this awareness to inform every aspect of our being, our thoughts, actions, relationships. It's about bringing our infinite nature into harmony with our finite experience.
That sounds beautiful in theory, but what about when we're stuck in traffic or dealing with difficult people? How do we maintain that awareness in challenging moments?
Think of it like maintaining your balance while walking. It becomes natural with practice, even though you're constantly making micro adjustments.
You know what's really striking me about this whole concept? It's almost like we're trying to describe something that exists beyond the capacity of language to capture it. There's something beautifully paradoxical about that.
Mm-hmm. It's like trying to describe the taste of water. The very thing that makes it essential also makes it nearly impossible to define.
And yet here we are, using words to discuss something that supposedly transcends words. There's something both frustrating and fascinating about that limitation, don't you think?
Well, it's like we're creating a map of territory that can't be fully mapped. The map isn't the territory, but it can still be useful in pointing us in the right direction.
This conversation is making me think about knowledge in a completely different way. It's not just about what we know, but about how we know and why we know. It's about the very nature of understanding itself.
And perhaps most importantly, it's about how we integrate that understanding into our lived experience. It's not just theoretical, it has practical implications for how we move through the world.
I'm curious about how this understanding might change our relationships, not just with other people, but with everything around us. If we truly internalize this perspective, wouldn't it transform how we interact with the world?
That's one of the most profound implications. It suggests that every interaction, every relationship is an expression of this underlying unity.
And maybe that's why this concept feels so important right now. In a world that often seems increasingly fragmented and divided, it points to a deeper unity that exists beneath all the apparent separation.
You know, that's such a crucial point. It suggests that our current experience of separation might be more of a perceptual limitation than a fundamental reality.
This whole conversation has given me so much to think about. It's like we've been exploring a map to a territory that exists both everywhere and nowhere. Something that can't be fully captured in words, but somehow transforms everything when we recognize it.
And perhaps that's the most beautiful part, that in trying to understand and discuss this ineffable knowledge, we're participating in its expression. We're part of this endless evolution of understanding.
Yes, I think so. Now it's up to the listeners to study the essay for themselves. It will certainly help them to understand the concept of integral knowledge in a deeper way. You can find the link in the text below the video.
Goodbye from the mic, Phil.
See you soon, Sophia.